The dusk cast a heavy shadow over the Texas plain. Its fading light stretched across the wind-swept earth as young rancher Jacob Wade stood bloodied from a cruel foreman's whip, his scarred back unyielding despite the sting. Foreman Gideon Holt's eyes gleamed with greed, his voice sharp. "This land's mine, Wade." Jacob's ranch sprawled nearby, a weathered stable and cabin shaped by years of toil. A hidden claim to the land, kept since his kin's passing. Jacob's gray gaze lifted to a distant ridge. Dust stirred faintly, a quiet vow in the arid air. The ranch stood in stark solitude, its fields scorched by the relentless sun, the stable's timbers weathered by time. A testament to Jacob's struggle, since raiders claimed his kin. He rebuilt alone, his life a cycle of labor and grief. A lone grave beneath a twisted oak marked their loss. Gideon's false claim to the ranch stirred unease. The foreman's greed, born from a forged deed, aimed to break Jacob. The rancher's heart steadied. His hand brushed a worn belt. He knew the ranch hand's loyalty, a bond guarded through hardship. Gideon's sneer lingered, Jacob's resolve unshaken, his silence a defiance born of grit. Outside the stable, the air hung thick with the scent of dust and tension. A single lantern framed a sliver of twilight. Jacob leaned against a post, his boots scuffed the earth. He recalled sharing his stable with ranch hands during a famine, earned their trust with sacrifice. That bond lingered in the dust clouds beyond the ridge, a secret he held close. As Gideon's threats tightened, the foreman's greed mirrored the raiders who took his kin, a wound that fueled Jacob's determination. The townsfolk whispered nearby, their voices a mix of doubt and pity. Jacob stood firm, his spirit a quiet fire against the growing night. The plain grew still. The heat pressed down. The townsfolk gathered near the stable, their eyes wary. Jacob wiped blood from his brow, his gaze fixed on the ridge. The memory of his kin's final words, urging perseverance, steadied him. He tended the herd through drought, rebuilt the stable through storms, now faced this injustice with the same grit that carried him through loss. The dust thickened. A low rumble broke the silence, a sign Gideon and his thugs could not see. The foreman's voice echoed, "Surrender or bleed." Jacob's silence answered, his defiance a shield against the lie. The night deepened. The ridge loomed under a sky streaked with stars. Jacob sat by the stable, his hands steady, the grave's shadow a reminder of his stake. The rumble grew clearer. Hooves echoed in the dark. Jacob murmured a prayer, the words rough, sought strength to face the dawn. The stable's walls loomed, a testament to his endurance, its solitude pierced by hope. The hand's bond, forged in shared hardship, pulsed in his chest, a promise of allies ready to act. As dawn broke, ranch hands crested the ridge. Their lassos gleamed in the pale light, their silhouettes stark against the dust. Led by a loyal tracker. Their presence a response to Jacob's grit, a vow fulfilled from the famine years. Jacob stood by the stable, his pack heavy but his spirit light. The braided rope, a gift from a past alliance, rested in his pocket. The townsfolk, watching from the plain, murmured of the strange gathering, their curiosity tinged with fear. The hands halted near the stable, their eyes fixed on Jacob, a force to counter Gideon's greed. The foreman's lies a spark ready to ignite. The sun climbed higher. The plain pulsed with tension, the cabin a distant stronghold. Jacob gripped a post, his defiance a quiet flame. The tracker dismounted. His gaze locked with Jacob's, a nod acknowledged their shared past. Gideon's threat, still unseen, hung heavy. The hand's approach shifted the balance, their numbers a challenge to the foreman's authority. The ranch stood as a beacon, the grave a spur, Jacob's grit a guide. The ridge stretched wide, the trail a silent witness. The dawn awaited the handstand, a force to shake Gideon's greed. Jacob stood ready, a young rancher shaped by loss, his hidden claim a truth ready to unfold under the relentless sun. The surveyor arrived, his maps clutched tightly. The townsfolk grew bold. Their whispers turned to calls for fairness. Jacob's heart swelled, the stable a symbol of his toil, the hand's loyalty a shield against Gideon's whip. The ridge glowed faintly, the dust a canvas for justice. Jacob faced the day, his kin's loss a fire that drove him forward, the plain a stage for his stand, a test of truth born from his hidden claim under the unyielding light. The dawn broke over the Texas plain, a fierce sun pierced the thinning dust as Jacob Wade stood by the stable's edge. The cabin's wooden walls weathered against the parched earth. Ranch hands encircled the ranch. Their lassos gleamed under the loyal tracker Cole Thorne's steady gaze. The townsfolk watched from the plain, their murmurs a mix of awe and fear. Foreman Gideon Holt's greed lingered, his thug's threat a growing shadow. Jacob's heart pulsed with resolve, his kin's loss a fire within. The crunch of hooves settled, a promise of allies ready to unveil a hidden strength. The sun climbed higher, its harsh rays revealed the hands holding their ground. Their ropes shone, dust swirled across the dry plain. Cole stood at the forefront, his weathered face etched with purpose, his eyes sharp beneath a worn hat. Jacob leaned against a post, his gray gaze steady. He recalled the famine when he shared his stable, saved the hands from hunger. That bond forged in sacrifice now drew them to his defense, a silent vow carried on the arid breeze. Gideon stormed onto the ranch. His hired thugs flanked him. Their whips glinted as they demanded Jacob's surrender. His voice boomed. "This land's mine, Wade." His eyes gleamed with ambition. Unaware of the hands encircling the ranch, Jacob stood firm. His hand brushed the braided rope in his pocket. The stable's shadow loomed, a testament to his endurance. Gideon's men spread out, their boots kicked up dust, their confidence unshaken. The townsfolk gathered at the ranch's edge. Their whispers rose. Some recalled Jacob's generosity. Others eyed Gideon with doubt. Iron Flint, a young hand with a braided rope in hand, dismounted, approached Jacob, his stride confident. His eyes reflected their shared past, a river rescue, where they earned matching scars. "We stand with you," he said, his voice low, the rope a symbol of intent. Gideon burst forward, his whip raised, shouted, "Drive 'em off! This is my claim!" His men hesitated. Their whips wavered, the hands' numbers a daunting force. The ranch pulsed with tension. The sun cast harsh shadows across the gathered crowd. Jacob stepped forward, his pack set aside. He faced Gideon, a land deed delivered by a dusty rider in hand. "This is my ranch," he said, his tone firm, held up the papers. Gideon's jaw clenched, his hand trembled on the whip. His greed clashed with the evidence. The townsfolk shifted, their murmurs grew. A few nodded at Jacob's words, their respect for his grit stirred. Cole dismounted closer, his presence silenced the ranch. Cole dismounted closer, his presence silenced the ranch. He stood beside Jacob, his gaze locked with Gideon's. A challenge, unspoken but clear. The air thickened with dust and expectation. The heat pressed down as the hands tightened their circle. Their lassos gleamed, a wall of strength against the fragile ranch. Iron Flint raised the rope, its fibers clear. He spoke to Gideon. "Talk, or we act," he said, his words measured. The foreman scoffed. His voice cracked. "Papers don't scare me." His men lowered their whips. Their loyalty faltered under the hand's gaze. Jacob felt the weight of his kin's counsel, urged perseverance, a spur to stand firm against Gideon's greed. A townsfolk elder, his face lined with years, stepped forward, clutched a ledger of old trades. "Wade's been fair," he said, his voice steady. "He's no squatter." The crowd murmured agreement. Their doubt in Gideon grew. The surveyor nodded, his deed spread on a crate, confirmed Jacob's ownership of the ranch. Jacob's mind raced, pieced together Cole's honor, Iron Flint's loyalty, Gideon's fear, his own precarious stand. He rebuilt his ranch through grief and famine, each day a testament to his grit. Now confronted this injustice with the hands as allies, their bond a shield. Gideon retreated to his men, shouted for reinforcements that would not come. The nearest outpost days away, the hand circle held, their patience a test, their presence a threat. Jacob murmured a prayer, the words rough, sought wisdom to navigate the day. Iron Flint conferred with Cole, their gestures sharp, the tracker's face set with resolve. The young hand returned, pressed the rope into Jacob's hand. "We wait for your lead," he said, his eyes bright with trust. Gideon's hand shook, his whip lowered. The truth of Jacob's claim, a storm he could not outrun. The sun reached its zenith, the ranch a crucible of heat and tension, the stable a faltering bastion. Jacob stood tall, the deed his proof, the rope his bond. His kin's loss a fire drove him forward. Cole's challenge loomed, the hand's circle a testament to their resolve. Gideon's power hung by a thread. The townsfolk watched. Their allegiance shifted. The surveyor's truth a turning point. Jacob felt the weight of his stand, a grit that might cost his ranch but preserve his soul. The ridge stretched wide, the trail a silent witness. The day promised a reckoning, a test of truth born from Jacob's hidden claim under the relentless sun. The surveyor's maps gleamed, the townsfolk grew bold. Their calls for fairness rose. Jacob's heart steadied, the stable a symbol of his toil, the hand's loyalty a shield against Gideon's whip. The ridge glowed faintly, the dust a canvas for justice. Jacob faced the day, his kin's perseverance a guide, the plain a stage for his stand, a force to reshape Gideon's greed under the unyielding light. The sun blazed at its peak over the Texas plain. Its searing heat scorched the ranch as Jacob Wade stood by the stable's edge. The land deed gripped tightly, the braided rope a steadfast anchor in his pocket, the stable's timbers a crumbling symbol of Foreman Gideon Holt's faltering grip. The ranch hands formed an unyielding circle around the ranch, their lassos stilled under Cole Thorne's steady gaze. The townsfolk pressed closer, their murmurs a swelling tide of support. The surveyor's truth a beacon exposed Gideon's lies. Jacob's call for a council lingered, the braided rope from iron flint a fragile hope, the ranch a crucible poised for a reckoning. Jacob's heart wrestled. The memory of his kin's death to raiders burned vivid. Their greed a wound echoed in Gideon's false claim to the ranch. The foreman's cruelty clashed with the hand's honor, forged when Jacob shared his stable during their famine. That bond, sealed with sacrifice, now stood as his shield. Calling the hands to fight risked blood on this plain. A path his kin's call to perseverance urged him to avoid. The rope, pressed into his hand by iron flint, pulsed with promise. A bridge between worlds urged a lawful stand. Outside the stable, Jacob faced Gideon, his gray eyes unyielding. The deed gleamed in his hand. "This is my land," he said, his voice firm. Held up the papers. Gideon's jaw clenched. His greed warred with the evidence. His hand twitched on the whip. The townsfolk murmured. Their doubt in the foreman grew. A few recalled Jacob's aid in hard times. Cole stepped closer. His presence commanded. He nodded to Jacob, his silence a call for truth over violence. Iron Flint moved forward, his young frame resolute. He offered a braided rope, its fibers rough but intricate, a symbol of truce. "Take it," he said to Gideon, his tone calm but stern. "Free his claim, and we talk." The foreman's eyes darted to the hands, their numbers a stark threat. His men's whips wavered. Gideon's whips wavered. Jacob felt the weight of his choice, the rope a lifeline. Gideon's ambition hardened his stance. "I'll not bow to your kind," he spat. The words a spark in the dry air ignited tension among the crowd. The heat pressed down, the ranch a furnace of dust and conflict, the stable a fragile stronghold. Jacob's mind raced, wove Cole's honor, Iron Flint's loyalty, Gideon's fear, his own precarious stand. He rebuilt his ranch through grief and famine, each day a testament to his grit, now faced a moment that could end it all. His kin's words, urged perseverance, steadied him. A prayer whispered under his breath, sought wisdom to navigate this trial. The townsfolk shifted. Their whispers grew. A few stepped closer, their respect for Jacob's grit clear. Cole dismounted. His worn hat glinted. He faced Gideon, the braided rope extended in Iron Flint's hand. "A test of truth," the tracker said, his voice a deep rumble. "Win, and he loses his claim. Lose, and you answer to us." Gideon froze. His whip lowered. The reality of the hand's strength sank in. The surveyor nodded. His deed spread on a crate, confirmed Jacob's ownership of the ranch. The thugs hesitated. Their loyalty crumbled. The townsfolk's murmurs turned to calls for fairness. Their faith in Gideon eroded. Jacob gripped the deed, the rope a steady anchor. He felt the hand's aid echo in his mind, the famine a bond that held firm. He could summon the hands, end Gideon's threat with force. The cost would be lives, a stain his kin's memory rejected. He could face the test, risk his claim on Gideon's terms. A narrow path to justice, the rope, the deed, the tracker's gaze offered a chance. Jacob nodded. His resolve hardened. "I'll prove my right," he said, his voice clear. The ranch, a stage for his stand. The afternoon wore on, the sun relentless, the stable a shadow of fading power. Gideon retreated to confer with his men, their voices low with doubt. Cole stood firm, the hands a wall of patience. Iron Flint returned to Jacob, the rope raised, a signal of readiness. The rancher nodded, his spirit unbroken. The townsfolk gathered closer, their allegiance shifted. The surveyor's truth a beacon. Jacob felt his kin's loss. A fire drove him to resist, his resolve a shield against Gideon's greed. The ridge stretched boundless, the trail a silent witness. The dust settled into a tense calm. The tracker's challenge loomed, the hand's circle a testament to their resolve. Gideon's power hung by a thread. The townsfolk's support grew, their voices a chorus. The ranch a crucible of justice. The hand's presence, a storm that shook Gideon's ambition, stood ready. Jacob faced the moment, a young rancher shaped by loss, his grit alight, poised for the test that would define his legacy under the unyielding sun. The surveyor's maps gleamed, the townsfolk's calls for fairness rose. Jacob's heart steadied. The stable a symbol of his toil, the hand's loyalty a shield against Gideon's whip. The ridge glowed faintly, the dust a canvas for truth. Jacob faced the day, his kin's perseverance a guide, the plain a stage for his stand, a force to reshape Gideon's greed under the relentless light. The sun dipped low over the Texas plain. Its faint glow cast long shadows across the ranch as Jacob Wade stood resolute near the stable. The land deed clutched tightly, the braided rope a steadfast anchor in his pocket, the stable's timbers a crumbling symbol of Foreman Gideon Holt's faltering grip. The ranch hands formed an unyielding circle, their lassos stilled under Cole Thorne's steady gaze. The townsfolk pressed closer, their murmurs a swelling tide of support. The surveyor's truth, a beacon, exposed Gideon's lies. Jacob's call for a test of truth lingered. The braided rope, from Iron Flint, a fragile hope. The ranch, a crucible poised for a reckoning. Gideon descended from his horse, his weathered coat damp with sweat. His eyes darted between Jacob and the hands. "A test, then," he growled, his voice taut with defiance. "You against my best, Wade. Win, you keep the ranch. Lose, and it's mine." Jacob nodded, his gray gaze unwavering. The memory of his kin's death to raiders fueled his stand against Gideon's greed. The thugs parted, cleared the ranch's edge. Jacob stepped forward. The rope's weight grounded him. Cole stood firm, his presence a silent endorsement. The hands formed a natural arena, their eyes a jury of honor. The confrontation erupted as Gideon's champion, a burly thug named Bryce with a scarred jaw, strode forward, a heavy staff in hand. Dust swirled as they circled, the air thick with the scent of dry earth and tension. Jacob moved with the grit of a rancher, his staff sliced through the heat, clashed against Bryce's with a crack that echoed across the plain. The thug lunged, his strength a force. Jacob sidestepped, his agility honed by years of taming the land, landed a blow to Bryce's side. The townsfolk gasped, their voices rose. The hands watched, their silence a testament to trust. Midway, Bryce rallied. His staff slammed into Jacob's shoulder. Pain flared through his bones. He stumbled. The memory of his kin's final plea for perseverance spurred him forward. Iron Flint tensed, his hand on a knife. Cole raised a palm, halted interference, his faith in Jacob resolute. The rancher recovered, his staff swept low, caught Bryce's leg, sent him crashing to the dust. The plain held its breath, the outcome teetered. the hand's approval a quiet hum as Jacob pressed forward, his endurance a fire against the thug's faltering strength. With a final surge, Jacob drove his staff upward. Disarmed Bryce, the weapon skidded across the dirt. The thug raised a hand, yielded. The townsfolk erupted in cheers, their respect for Jacob solidified. Gideon's face twisted. His authority unraveled. He stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Hold!" he shouted. His whip half drawn, Iron Flint moved swiftly, revealed a scar on his wrist from a shared river rescue, matched Jacob's. A proof of their bond silenced the foreman. The surveyor stepped forward. His deed spread wide. A land assessor arrived. His maps confirmed Jacob's ownership. The truth undeniable. Cole approached. His worn hat glinted. He handed Jacob the braided rope. "Your ranch is yours," he said, his voice a deep anchor. "Your honor holds." Gideon froze. His whip dropped. The weight of defeat settled like dust. The thugs slung their whips. Their loyalty broke. The townsfolk nodded. Their allegiance shifted to Jacob's justice. The rancher accepted the rope, its fibers rough against his calloused hands. He met Iron Flint's gaze, their shared scar a testament to trust. The hands' circle parted, their lasso stamped, a sign of respect rather than menace. The ranch a stage for a new dawn. The sun sank toward the west, cast pale hues across the plain. The stable a humbled sentinel under the fading light. Jacob rubbed his aching shoulder, the pain a badge of triumph. He turned to Iron Flint, whose nod mirrored their shared struggle. The townsfolk elder lingered among the crowd, offered a quiet salute, his gratitude a steady thread. Cole clasped Jacob's shoulder, a gesture of alliance. The hands began to disperse, their departure a slow tide across the ridge, left the ranch in a fragile calm. The afternoon cooled, the dust settled into the earth. The ranch a witness to the day's turning point. Jacob murmured a prayer, the words firm, thanked the fortitude that guided him through the trial. The ridge stretched boundless, the trail a guardian, the stable a marker of change. Gideon retreated, his silence grudging. The townsfolk spoke of fairness, their view of Jacob transformed. The rope, the deed, the scar wove a tale of justice. A legacy rose from the dust. The stars emerged, their light pierced the twilight. Indifferent to the drama below, they guided Jacob's path. Cole's honor, Iron Flint's loyalty, the surveyor's truth, converged in this hour. A rancher proved by grit. He felt his kin's counsel, urged perseverance, a call that drove him to resist. The stable stood firm, its edge a crucible of truth. The handstorm reshaped Gideon's greed. Jacob stood tall, a young rancher shaped by loss. His honor a beacon, his future a promise written in the land's rugged lines. The surveyor's maps gleamed, the townsfolk's calls for fairness rose. Jacob's heart steadied, the stable a symbol of his toil, the hand's loyalty a shield against Gideon's whip. The ridge glowed faintly, the dust a canvas for truth. Jacob faced the future, his kin's perseverance a guide, the plain a stage for his legacy, a force to reshape the land's story under the relentless light, ready for whatever the horizon might bring. The twilight deepened over the Texas plain. Stars pierced the vast sky as Jacob Wade stood on the ranch's edge, the braided rope rough in his calloused hands, the land deed a steady anchor in his pocket. The stable stood silent, its timbers a humbled sentinel. The ranch hands faded across the ridge, their lassos a soft clink under Colethorn's departing nod. The townsfolk dispersed, their murmurs of respect for Jacob echoed. The elder's salute a quiet thread of gratitude. Foreman Gideon Holt retreated, his silence a grudging admission. The surveyor's deed and assessor's maps a truth that reshaped the day. The ranch settled. A fragile peace bloomed under the cooling night. Iron Flint lingered, his young frame resolute. He joined Jacob by the fields, pointed to a splintered fence toppled in the day's clash. "We rebuild," he said, his voice firm. They set to work, hauled timber from a nearby shed, their hands steady despite the fading light. The elder pitched in, his stamina a testament to his loyalty. A few townsfolk, stirred by Jacob's stand, brought nails and tools. A tentative bond formed. Jacob felt his solitude ease. The land no longer a battleground, but a bridge, its dust a canvas for unity. As night fell, one of Gideon's thugs approached. His boots scuffed the earth. He handed Jacob a folded note, his face tense with reluctance. "From Holt," he muttered, stepped back. Jacob opened it, the ink stark. Gideon's confession, a curt acknowledgement of the rancher's ownership, exposed the thug's corruption, promised to cease his threats. The words carried a bitter edge, marked a shift, a crack in the foreman's greed. Jacob tucked the note into his shirt, its weight a reminder of the victory. He nodded to the thug, a silent acceptance of the change. The ranch grew still, the stable a shadow against the starlit sky. A hand elder rode in, his horse steady. He dismounted with care, presented a crafted medallion. Its beads glinted in the moonlight. "For your grit," he said, his tone deep. Handed it to Jacob. Iron Flint's eyes shone with respect, his scar a mirror to their shared rescue. A bond sealed in struggle. Jacob accepted the medallion, its texture warm. He watched the elder depart. The ridge swallowed his form. The elder rested by the fence, sipped from a gourd, his presence a sign of the ranch's new role as a haven. The townsfolk youth, emboldened by the day's events, lingered nearby, his crude sketch of the ranch a gift left in the dust. Jacob observed, his heart stirred. The memory of his kin's perseverance flickered in the youth's earnest gaze. He rebuilt his ranch alone, the silence a shield after the raiders claimed his kin. Now voices filled the ranch, a community forged in grit. The rope from Iron Flint gleamed, a symbol of trust. Jacob traced its fibers, felt the transformation within him. His past, once a heavy yoke, now fueled his purpose. The land a meeting ground for hope. The stars burned bright, the outpost a soft glow against the boundless ridge. Iron Flint tested the fence's new posts, their hold firm under his push. He gave a nod of approval. The elder offered to guard the herd, his loyalty clear. The townsfolk returned to their homes, their whispers of justice a quiet shift. Jacob stepped back, wiped sweat from his brow. The ache of his labors faded under a sense of belonging. He murmured a prayer. The words, firm, gave thanks for the resilience that led him through the trial. The ranch, a testament to unity. The night deepened, the ridge a distant guardian, the fence quiet save for the rustle of settling timber. The medallion fluttered in the breeze, a promise of continued alliance. Gideon's confession hinted at future challenges. Jacob watched the horizon, knew the foreman's retreat might be fleeting, his greed a seed that could sprout anew. The land held firm, its fence a symbol of restoration, its people a shield against division. He felt his kin's presence, their call to perseverance a guide, the loss a foundation for this harmony. The ridge stretched wide, the trail a silent vow. The night whispered of more wanderers, more tests. Jacob stood tall, the stable a marker of triumph. Its walls held memories of resistance. The elder rested, the youth watched. Jacob faced the future, a young rancher transformed by truth, his honor a beacon, his purpose a flame. The stars glowed, their light a constant. The ranch a haven, its claim restored in the rugged lines of the land, ready for whatever the dawn might bring. The night cloaked the Texas plain in a deep hush. Stars blazed across the boundless sky as Jacob Wade stood by the ranch's edge, the stable a steadfast refuge under the moon's pale glow. The elder slept near the restored fence, his soft breaths blended with the crafted medallion's faint rustle. Its beads caught the starlight. The trail stood as a silent sentinel, the hand camp a distant pulse beyond its crest. The braided rope and land deed inside anchored Jacob's past. A restored haven pulsed with hope. His thoughts drifted to the trials that forged him, a tapestry of grit woven through loss, etched into the land he now guarded. Years ago, the ranch thrived with purpose. Jacob and his kin, a brother named Amos, toiled under the relentless sun. Their hands shaped the land with sweat and care. The memory burned vivid. Amos's steady voice urged perseverance. His calloused hands mended stables as he taught Jacob to stand firm. Then raiders struck, their greed sparked by a false claim, accused Amos of theft. Jacob, barely grown, had been herding cattle when he returned to find his brother's body beneath a twisted oak. The raiders' shouts, a scar that seared his soul. The loss shattered him, left a void where hope once stood. The ranch, a silent testament to his grief. For months, Jacob wandered, his rifle a lone companion, the plain a haze of dust and despair. A brutal famine led him to a hand camp. He found a youth trapped in a river's muddy grip, his cries faint against the current. Jacob plunged in, his strength fueled by sorrow, pulled the youth free, his breath ragged but triumphant. Cold thorn lowered his lasso, offered warmth by their fires, a bond forged in that act of courage. The braided rope, now held by iron flint, was given to Jacob, a mark of trust that tethered him to the present, a light against the darkness of his loss. The ranch's edge held echoes of that journey, its parched earth a mirror to the fields Jacob reclaimed. He leaned against the fence, the medallion's beads caught the starlight. He traced the rope's fibers, felt Amos's voice echo. "Hold to perseverance, Jacob." The raiders' violence stole his brother, burned away his fear, forged a man tempered by hardship, driven to rebuild. He tilled the soil, tended the herd, each task a step toward healing. The silence remained a heavy burden, a constant reminder of his solitude. One dusk, under a sky aflame with stars, Cole shared the Hinz's ways, their rituals of endurance and kinship. Jacob learned to track paths across the dust, to read the wind's patterns, to face adversity with unyielding resolve. The youth he saved, now iron flint, became a friend. The camp named Jacob an ally, their trust a shield against his isolation. Amos's absence lingered, a pang that stirred with every sunrise. He vowed to protect this land, to honor his brother's call, a pledge that drove him to defy Gideon's greed, to stand with the hands against injustice. The elder's presence stirred those memories. His gratitude echoed Jacob's own after the raiders' attack. Jacob stepped toward the stable. The lantern inside cast a faint glow. He recalled the nights he spent in prayer, the words rough, sought fortitude to endure. Amos's journal, tucked in a crate, held notes of perseverance, a guide that aligned with Jacob's path. The Hand Alliance, a fulfillment of that legacy. The raid taught him grit, the river rescue connection, Gideon's challenge defiance. Each shaped a rancher into a guardian of truth. Outside, the night deepened, the elder's snores a soft rhythm, the trail a distant protector. Jacob gazed toward the horizon, the plain quiet but held secrets. The raider's cruelty forged his resolve, the Hand's trust strengthened it, Gideon's defeat tested it. Each trial molded him, a solitary figure into a steward, his past a foundation for the peace he nurtured. He murmured a prayer. The words, steady, sought wisdom to carry forward. The stars guided his thoughts. The braided rope, left by iron flint, rested against the fence, its texture a reminder of the river rescue, the life he saved. He thought of Amos's courage, his call to stand firm, a spur to protect the land and its people. The stable, once a symbol of Gideon's greed, stood as a testament to justice, its edge a meeting ground for hope. The elder's arrival hinted at more to come. Wanderers sought refuge, challenges to face. Jacob felt prepared, his spirit steadied by memory. The stars burned bright, indifferent to his journey. They lit his path. The medallion, the rope, the journal wove a story of endurance. A legacy took root. The raiders took his brother, gave him a duty, a strength drawn from grief. Jacob stood tall. The stable glowed softly. The fence, a symbol of restoration. The horizon, a promise of trials to meet. The elder slept. The Hand's trust lingered. Jacob faced the night, a young rancher transformed by loss, his honor a beacon, ready for whatever the plain might bring. The night cloaked the Texas plain in a heavy stillness. Stars blazed across the boundless sky as Jacob Wade stood by the ranch's edge, the stable a steadfast haven under the moon's pale glow. The elder slept near the restored fence. His soft breaths mingled with the crafted medallion's faint rustle. Its beads caught the starlight. The trail loomed as a silent sentinel, the hand camp a distant pulse beyond its crest. The braided rope and land deed inside anchored Jacob's past. A restored haven pulsed with hope. His gaze lingered on the horizon. The hand's kinship shaped this fragile piece. A clash of values stirred in the land's rugged embrace. Beyond the ridge, the hand camp thrived in quiet resilience, a cluster of tents rooted in the dust. Elders etched intricate symbols on gear with steady hands. Their patterns traced rescues, triumphs, brotherhood. Jacob witnessed their rituals, the air thick with sage, as they offered gratitude under the vast sky, their kinship a living thread woven through generations. Cole Thorne shared their weight. His deep voice carried ancestral pride, taught Jacob the reverence owed to their ways. That respect earned him trust, forged when he saved a youth from a river. It underscored the divide with men like Gideon Holt, whose greed saw only savagery. The braided rope, held by Iron Flint, bore profound meaning, a mark of leadership passed through hands, its fibers smoothed by tradition. Cole entrusted it to the young hand after Jacob's rescue, a sign of honor that spoke for the camp in times of strife. Jacob felt its significance through Iron Flint's gesture, the memory of the river's muddy grip vivid, the youth's life a bridge across cultures. Gideon's greed, aimed to seize the ranch with disdain, clashed with this code. His actions a theft that mocked the hand's bond with the earth. The stable showdown tested that divide. Jacob's stand, a defense of shared values. Cole carried a heavy burden, his weathered face a map of leadership's toll. Conflict upheld their pride, a shield against threats like Gideon's greed. Peace preserved their future, safeguarded lives for generations yet to come. Jacob saw Cole deliberate with elders, their voices low against the fire's crackle, weighed the cost of strife. The hands trained tirelessly, their lassos and knives a testament to readiness. Cole's eyes held a yearning for harmony, a lesson Jacob learned through his brother's loss. The alliance with Jacob was a balance, a test of Gideon's intent. The risk of escalation lingered. Iron Flint bridged the gap, his carvings a quiet defiance of division. Jacob watched him etch the stable, the fence, the plain, each stroke a step toward understanding the rancher's world. The young hand's hands moved with purpose, his silence a language of hope, sought unity where others saw conflict. Jacob shared tales of Amos, the fields they worked, the raid that ended their bond. Iron Flint listened, his eyes keen, carved a scene of brotherhood as a gift. That connection fueled Jacob's resolve, a reminder of what could be preserved through mutual respect. The night deepened. The elder stirred briefly, his cough a faint break in the stillness. Jacob stepped toward the fence. The cool breeze brushed his face. He gazed at the trail, the camp's echo a pulse in the distance. He recalled the day Cole named him an ally. The camp encircled him, their shouts a welcome forged in trust. That moment reshaped him, a solitary rancher into a guardian, the land a meeting ground rather than a divide. The rope in his pocket pulsed with that memory, a link to a people who fought to endure, not destroy. Gideon's greed ignited the clash, his attempt to seize the ranch a violation of the hand's kinship, their bond with the earth a sacred trust. Jacob knew Cole saw his grit as a stand for justice, the stable a stage for their shared honor. The hands valued their lineage, their territory, their kin. Jacob respected that. His alliance a foundation for the peace they won. The rope, the medallion, the carvings were symbols of a people who cherished life, a code Jacob admired through shared struggle. The stars shifted overhead, their light guided Jacob's thoughts. He murmured a prayer, the words steady, sought wisdom to navigate the clash. The hands' kinship pulsed with resilience, their rituals a quiet strength, their honor a match for any foe. Gideon's retreat might falter, his greed a lingering threat. Jacob knew Cole's hands stood ready, their kinship a shield. Inside, the lantern glowed, The journal and medallion anchors to his past, the rope a promise of unity. The elder's presence hinted at more to come. Wanderers sought aid, challenges to face. Jacob felt equipped, his spirit steadied by the bond he forged. The night deepened, the stable a quiet refuge, the trail a distant protector. Jacob stood tall. The ranch held his history, the fence his present, the horizon his future. The raiders took his brother, gave him a duty, a resilience drawn from grief. The hand's kinship enriched that duty, their ways a guide, their trust a strength. The plains stretched boundless, the trail a promise. Jacob faced the darkness, a young rancher turned guardian, his honor a beacon, his legacy a bridge across the cultural divide. The night cloaked the Texas plain in a deep hush. The stars blazed across the boundless sky as Jacob Wade stood by the ranch's edge, the stable a steadfast refuge under the starlit glow. The elder slept near the restored fence, his breaths soft against the crafted medallion's faint rustle. The trail stood as a silent sentinel, the hand camp a distant pulse beyond its crest. The braided rope and land deed inside tethered Jacob's past. A legacy of justice took root. The air grew heavy. A brutal famine lingered in the darkness, its unyielding grasp a challenge that tested Jacob, the hands, and their fragile unity. Dawn broke with a piercing heat. The sun crested the trail to reveal a barren landscape. The earth cracked beneath Jacob's boots as he stepped toward the fields. The well stood dry, its basin caked with dust. The herd huddled restlessly, their lowering a desperate plea. Jacob scanned the plain. The grass withered under the sun, the well a barren wound toward the horizon. The trail held the faint silhouette of the hand camp. Their horses stamped. A shared struggle bound them. He seized a shovel, his muscles taut from the stable's defense. He trudged toward the well's edge, resolved to dig a water channel. But first, he must protect the Darren. Iron Flint appeared, his braided rope traded for a digging tool, his keen eyes undaunted by the scorching heat. Together they struck the hard earth, the dirt unyielding. Each thrust a defiance of the famine's cruelty. Sweat stung Jacob's face, his breath labored. Iron Flint's vigor matched his own, their efforts a silent pact. Cole Thorne arrived, his hands trailed, their hands armed with picks, their presence a shield against the famine's wrath. The elder joined, his stamina surprising. Townsfolk, inspired by Jacob's stand, brought tools. A fledgling alliance formed under the blazing sky. The heat intensified, the air shimmered with a parched haze, the ranch a furnace of dust and toil. Jacob's mind flashed to the raiders who claimed his brother. Their greed, a parallel to this merciless season, taught him to persevere. He drove the shovel deeper. The earth yielded a faint trickle of water, a glimmer of hope. Iron Flint pointed to the damp patch, his optimism a spark in the desolation. The hands shared their dwindling provisions, the grain a sacred bond as they pressed on, their camp survival tied to this labor. A dust storm roared to life. The wind howled across the plain, pelted them with grit. Jacob squinted, his hat pulled tight, shouted to Iron Flint to hold firm. The hands formed a protective ring, their bodies a barrier against the tempest. Jacob and Iron Flint anchored the dig, the shovel's handle slick with dust. The elders shielded a townsfolk youth, their figures huddled against the storm, a mirror of Jacob's river rescue years ago. The dust storm raged. The grit stung his skin. The damp patch grew, a lifeline beneath the chaos. Hours passed. The storm faded as abruptly as it rose. The sky cleared to a pale dusk. Jacob leaned on the shovel. His chest heaved, the ache in his limbs a testament to their struggle. The effort bore fruit. Water flowed into the channel, a thin stream at first, then a steady current. The well reborn. Iron Flint let out a rare shout. The hands' voices rose in triumph. A chorus echoed across the ranch. Cole approached. His stern face eased. He gripped Jacob's shoulder, the bond sealed by shared toil. The elder drank from the new channel, his gratitude carved in his weathered features. The townsfolk cheered. Their admiration for Jacob deepened. The herd lumbered forward, their thirst quenched. Jacob watched the hands tend their mounts. The camp revitalized. The hands prepared to return to the trail, their departure a vow of continued alliance, the channel a shared triumph. The elder offered a hand to Jacob. A silent thanks, the stable a sanctuary once more. Jacob wiped his brow. The dusk painted the plain in soft hues. The dust settled into the earth. He murmured a prayer, the words firm, gave thanks for the resilience that carried them through. The brutal famine would persist. This channel was a victory, a symbol of unity. Iron flint carved the scene, the water, the hands, the ranch, a record of their success. Handed it to Jacob, a keepsake of endurance. The trail glowed faintly, the hand's kinship a mirror to his own strength. The stars emerged, the night cooled after the day's ordeal, the stable a haven of peace. Jacob stood by the channel, the elder rested nearby. The townsfolk returned home with newfound respect. The struggle tested them. Their collaboration prevailed, a bond forged in the heat. Gideon's shadow might return. The land thrived, its channel a pledge of survival. Jacob felt his brother's loss ease, a bedrock for this moment, his duty a guide. The plain stretched wide, the trail a steadfast protector. Jacob stood ready, a young rancher turned guardian, his spirit drawn from the earth and the people who stood with him. The night settled softly over the Texas plain. Stars blazed across the boundless sky as Jacob Wade stood by the newly dug channel, its steady trickle a lifeline carved into the parched earth. The elder rested near the restored fence. His soft breaths blended with the faint rustle of the crafted medallion. Its beads caught the moonlight. The townsfolk youth lingered nearby, his carving of the channel a quiet offering. The trail stood as a steadfast sentinel, the hand camp a distant pulse. The braided rope, land deed, and journal inside the stable anchored Jacob's past. A deeper stirring rose, a renewal born from grief, kindled by the bonds forged through struggle. The elder's gratitude, the townsfolk's growing respect, and the hand's trust stirred memories of Jacob's brother, Amos. His loss to raiders carved a hollow in his heart. The raiders' shouts, their lies about a land dispute, echoed in Gideon Holt's greed. A wound reopened in the stable's defense. The channel's flow, the hand's toil, softened that pain. A mirror to the river rescue when Jacob saved a youth. He knelt by the water. Its cool touch soothed his fingers. He saw Amos's face in the ripples, his call to perseverance a beacon in the darkness. Tears pricked his eyes. A rare release eased the sorrow that shaped him. Inside the stable, Jacob lit a lantern. Its glow illuminated Amos's journal, its worn pages a relic of his brother's wisdom. He traced the scrawled words, "Perseverance mends, Jacob," a guide that carried him through solitude. The raiders stole Amos, left Jacob to rebuild alone. The elder's aid, iron flint's carving, and the townsfolk's shift offered a new path. He placed the journal beside the rope, the medallion nearby, a shrine to his past and a promise of healing. The raid's violence broke him. This moment, this unity, mended a piece of his soul. The elder approached. His weathered face softened by the night. He extended a hand. "You gave me a home, a cause," he said, his voice gruff but earnest. "Few would." Jacob clasped his hand. The gesture grounded. The gratitude echoed his own after the raiders' attack. Iron Flint returned, his presence steady, offered a polished stone, its surface smooth, a gift of respect. "For your heart," the hand said, his eyes reflected their shared rescue. The stone felt heavy, a tether to the hands. Jacob's chest tightened, Amos's memory alive in this act of care. The townsfolk youth darted forward. His carving of the channel now included Jacob, a crude but heartfelt tribute. Jacob accepted it. His heart swelled. The youth's trust, a mirror to Amos's hope. He saw his brother in the youth's earnest gaze, a call to nurture rather than mourn. The elder tended the herd, his movements deliberate. Iron Flint carved the scene, the water, the people, the ranch, a record of their bond. Jacob murmured a prayer, the words firm, sought grace to embrace this role. The land, a canvas for renewal. The morning sun rose, cast pale rays across the plain. The channel a lifeline amid the brutal famine's remnants. Jacob stood by the stable, the stone in his pocket, the journal's words a guide. He reflected on his journey. The raiders taught him grit, the river rescue connection, Gideon's silence defiance. This moment, this quiet healing, restored his spirit. He felt Amos's presence, his counsel a foundation for this care. The hands trust a balm to his wounds. The youth lingered, his carving a vision of community. A family took shape where loss reigned. The plain hummed with life. The herd snorted, the youth's laughter rose, the elder's gratitude a steady thread. Jacob walked the ranch, the stable a symbol of change. Its walls held hope. Gideon's confession, though grudging, marked a shift. The townsfolk's admiration grew, a new community forming. He ran his thumb over the stone, felt Iron Flint's loyalty, the hands' kinship a strength he shared. The brutal famine tested them, Amos's loss a shadow. The bond prevailed, a renewal, forged in shared toil. He stood tall, the channel's flow a testament to survival. The stars faded, their glow a memory, the trail a quiet promise, a new community aflame. The sun climbed higher, the sky a pale blue, the outpost a haven of peace. Jacob felt the burden of grief lift. Amos's heart a bedrock for this moment, his duty a guide. The raiders took his brother, gave him a purpose, a test drawn from sorrow. The elder worked, the youth carved. Jacob faced the day, a young rancher, transformed by justice, his honor a shield, his legacy a flame. The trail, a promise kept. The stable, a beacon of renewal, ready for whatever the plain might bring. A community woven in the rugged lines of the land. The sun ascended over the Texas plain. Its pale rays bathed the ranch in a soft embrace as Jacob Wade stood by the water channel, its steady trickle a lifeline carved into the earth. The elder toiled among the herd, their gentle lowing a rhythm of renewal. The townsfolk youth carved with fervor, his etching a vision of kinship blossomed in the dust. The trail loomed as a steadfast guardian, the hand camp a distant heartbeat. Iron Flint's polished stone rested heavy in Jacob's pocket, a tether to the alliance, forged through toil. The journal, braided rope and crafted medallion inside the stable anchored his past. A purpose pulsed, a legacy endured in the land's unyielding embrace. Months passed. The brutal famine yielded to a stubborn green. The channel sustained fields that sprouted with defiant life. Jacob labored alongside Iron Flint when the hand visited. Their hands reinforced a stable's frame, the timber solid under their effort. The elder, now a constant presence, repaired harnesses with precision, his loyalty woven into every task. The youth tended a young calf, his laughter a spark against the vast silence. The outpost flourished. Its wooden walls stood resolute, a beacon of hope under the boundless sky. One twilight, a weary wanderer emerged from the horizon. His horse limped, his face etched with the toll of a long trail. He halted near the stable. His eyes met Jacob's, a silent plea for shelter. "Lost my claim," he said, his voice rough with fatigue. Jacob nodded, the stone cool in his pocket, gestured toward the channel, its water clear. He filled a gourd, offered it to the wanderer, who drank deeply, his relief a mirror to the moments of struggle. The act felt natural, a cycle of care, rooted in Amos's call to persevere, carried forward in Jacob's hands. Jacob reflected on his journey, the raiders' violence a scar that shaped him, the river rescue a bridge to trust, Gideon's silence a testament to truth. The land, once a solitary burden, now thrived with purpose. Its resilience echoed his own. He murmured a prayer, the words firm, gave thanks for the fortitude that guided him through trials. The stable, a sanctuary, the frame held his history. The stable, a promise, the horizon, a hope. Each a thread in the legacy he wove. The wanderer settled by the channel, his horse tended. Jacob felt the isolation of his early years fade into a community of travelers turned kin. The sun dipped low, cast amber hues across the plain. The sky deepened to a soft violet. Jacob watched the trail. Knew Gideon's shadow might stir, his greed a latent threat. New challenges from beyond the plain. The channel, the hand bond, gave him ground to stand, a foundation for peace. He ran a hand along the stable's frame, its solidity a comfort. Saw the youth's etching evolve, now included the wanderer. A portrait of unity expanded with each visitor. Hints of future tales loomed. The plain held secrets. Trials waited beyond the trail. Jacob envisioned settlers, traders, more hands. Each brought need or conflict. Each tested the harmony he nurtured. The journal inside gleamed with Amos's wisdom, the rope a link to alliance, the stone a symbol of respect. All wove a story of endurance. He stood tall, the stable's shadow spilled into the dusk. The wanderer safe within its reach. The stars emerged, their light a guide, a beacon for the legacy he would leave. The night fell, the outpost a soft glow against the wilderness, the channel a lifeline, the stable a sign of growth. Jacob turned from the horizon. The wanderer's soft snores blended with the youth's breathing. He felt the burden of his grief lighten. The raiders took his brother, gave him a duty, a resilience drawn from sorrow. He invited the wanderer to linger, the decision a natural extension of his evolution. Sat by the stable, the gourd in hand, the etching a vision of unity. The plain stretched wide, the trail a quiet vow. The night whispered of more travelers, more challenges. Jacob's heart swelled. Amos's loss a foundation for this moment, his compassion a guide. The wanderer rested. The youth dreamed. Jacob faced the future. A young rancher transformed by truth, his honor a shield, his purpose a flame. The stars glowed, their light a constant. The stable a haven, its legacy endured in the rugged lines of the land. A community woven from the dust, a promise kept for the dawn, ready for whatever the horizon might bring.